So, hello everyone, welcome on my channel. Today I'm gonna present some new vehicles from Steel Beast Simulator in version 4.1. These new vehicles are Russian vehicles, new platforms presented a few years ago. We're gonna start with the wheeled platform, codenamed Boomerang. Boomerang is designed as a replacement for various BTRs like BTR-80, BTR-70, BTR-60. However, Boomerang is not only a BTR or APC in Russian, which means Bronet Transportior. It's also a wheeled infantry fighting vehicle in the variant we can see here. The Boomerang is designed more rationally than previous BTRs. It's designed with the front-mounted engine, with the driver next to it, and a crew and dismount compartment in the back, with a large ramp. In the center of the ramp there is an auxiliary door with firing port. The Boomerang represents a significant change in the development direction taken by the Russians, where the vehicle is more westernized. We can recognize this by the lack of the side firing ports for the dismounts. So obviously the focus is placed on the increased protection of the vehicle armor, so there are no weak spots in its structure. The only firing port is in the back. The protection of this vehicle is not better than other Western wheeled APCs and IFVs that are also amphibious. Boomerang is amphibious. We can see water propellers in the back of the hull and the water vane, or whatever it's called, in the front. So the first vehicle I would consider as direct equivalent for Boomerang is the Finnish Patria MV, especially in a Polish variant called Rosomak or Wolverine. So the Boomerang protection is probably all around against 14.5 mm AP rounds, and on the front maybe even up to 30 mm APDS. Additional protection is provided by Afghan Active Protection System. Afghan is a direct evolution of the previous prototype APS called Standard, and the Standard itself was the direct evolution of the concept of Drost Active Protection System. The hard kill element of the active protection system are fixed launchers with fixed protection zones. These launchers can be seen here, 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 and here. The variant of the Afghanit on the Boomerang is the lighter variant with smaller interceptors, probably optimized against RPGs, maybe even ATGMs. Additional protection is provided by the soft kill component of the system, which is in itself a further evolution of the famous Stora system. It does not have infrared dazzlers and only smoke dischargers. Some dischargers are placed on the turret, while the others are placed in the back of the hull, with two facing more towards the front of the vehicle and two more facing directly upwards and designed to protect against top attack ATGMs like Spike or Javelin through obscuring their view on the target, the view of their seekers. The Boomerang is using a Boomerang BM unmanned turret module. The turret is armed with very well known 30 mm 2A42 autocannon. The autocannon is also paired with coaxial 7.62 mm PKTM machine gun, and there are two launchers for Cornet ATGMs. Each launcher holds two missiles, so 4 ready missiles ready for firing. So on the first look, it's very modern and well-designed wheeled infantry fighting vehicle. However, I have some observations that shows that the vehicle itself is not perfectly designed. First thing is that behind the driver there is a lot of space that is simply empty. At least this is what we could see on the TV Zvezda documentary on the vehicle. This space could be occupied by the commander with his own hatch and a cupola. This doesn't happen. The commander do not have either his hatch nor direct vision blocks. He only can rely on his panoramic sight on the turret and some cameras that cover 360 degrees around the vehicle. Here we can see rear cameras, probably for driver and for the commander or other crew members. There is also one vision block plus two hatches for the crew on the top. The ammunition storage for the autocannon and machine gun is identical to BMP2. So 500 rounds for the 30 mm and a storage for the PKTM. It is unknown if the vehicle will have any sort of add-on armor, ERA, etc. Probably not, but the Russians might design additional protection for it at some point when the vehicle finally reaches series production and service. Another example of the new vehicles is the Kurganets-25 medium tracked platform. In the Steel Beast we can have two variants. One is the APC and the second is the IFV. The APC is the lighter one without add-on armor and without active protection system, or rather without its hard kill mechanism. Kurganets is amphibious vehicle. In the APC variant, it's armed with the remote weapon station, armed with the 12.7 mm NSVT or cord machine gun. It can also be armed with the 7.62 mm machine gun and probably also 14.5 mm. The vehicle itself have smoke grenade launchers on the turret or the remote weapon station. And also another interesting feature of the new Russian vehicles, here is the best visible, but the Boomerang also have it, are these cables here. These cables are the magnetic protection system against mines with magnetic sensors. The system simply shifts the magnetic field of the vehicle in front of it, so the mine will explode before the vehicle drives over it. Another interesting feature of these models is that they present the actual prototypes and not the mobile mock-ups that we can see during the Victory Day parade in Moscow. How we can recognize this? Through the observation of the driver hatch. The mock-ups probably have only crew of 2, which are placed like here. This hatch is slightly shifted to the center. The engine is different. Here the engine is mounted within the longitudinal axis of the hull. On the mock-ups it's probably mounted transversely. So there is no place here for the driver. There are only ventilation grills placed here. It's interesting to note that the APC probably have a crew of 3, which is atypical for such a vehicle. So there is the driver, probably the commander and the gunner. The vehicle probably can hold from 8 to maybe 11 dismounts. It's slightly armored in this basic configuration. However, the front should be able to withstand some older 20 and 25 mm ammunition. Let's move to the next vehicle. The Kurganets infantry fighting vehicle is a bit better protected. First, we can observe the additional armor modules on the whole sides. However, this is not a solid armor. This armor is also acting as buoyancy modules, so it might have some explosive reactive armor inside or other type of protection, but is also probably partially empty or have some sort of foam acting as a buoyancy element to improve the vehicle amphibious capabilities with its improved protection. That of course means that the vehicle have increased weight. Additional protection is provided by the Afghan active protection system with its hard kill modules, and this is a heavier variant of the Afghan with larger blast grenades mounted in fixed launchers with fixed protection zones. Pardon me. The vehicle have a Boomerang BM module, just like the Boomerang wheel vehicle. Of course, it have the log, like all track vehicles the Russians have. Interestingly, on the Kurganets and the Boomerang, the Afghan provides 360 degrees protection all around the vehicle. Not much can be said right now about these vehicles. However, for more information and some intelligence, we can watch TV Zvezda videos showing these vehicles. Of course, it's propaganda, but we can learn a lot of about these vehicles from it. Okay, let's move forward. The T14 heavy infantry fighting vehicle based on the Armada universal platform. This is a novelty in the Russian infantry fighting vehicles arsenal, but not exactly a novelty. The concept for heavy infantry vehicle was researched during the 80s when the Soviets were working on the Object 299 future tank, and it seems that the developers at UKBTM Design Bureau of the Ural Wagon Zavod took the LKZ and Omsk plans and developed a similar vehicle, but on their own chassis. The Object 299 would use universal chassis for infantry fighting vehicle, mine battle tank, and many other variants, with a rear-mounted turret, of course unmanned, and a two-man crew. So the hull will be identical for tank and infantry fighting vehicle. In case of the Armada, it's more reasonable to develop IFV with front-mounted engine and the MBT with the rear-mounted engine. So the components like engine, transmission, suspension, road wheels, etc., controls are identical. Our vehicle's general design is different. The T14 is a heavy infantry fighting vehicle. So it got more heavier protection in form of the new ERA modules. This ERA is wrongly named Malachit by the media. However, at this point we do not know its exact code name, if it have any, or if it's not just known relict ERA in different modules designed for the new Armada platform. The ERA modules protect the front of the vehicle, creating a certain wedge. So the ERA is here and also here on the bottom. I cannot show it because of the camera angle available in the StBs, but it's here as well. Additional ERA modules are placed at the angle over the engine exhaust and the ventilation exhaust. Due to these ERA modules, the vehicle got a nickname of Catfish. What is interesting is that its Afghan hard kill protection system do not provide 360 degrees protection with its hard kill launchers, and it seems it's optimized for the frontal assaults and the fight within so-called safe maneuvering angles. So up to that kind of angle, the enemy enemy projectiles can be intercepted by the APS. The APS also have the radar antennas here and here, and it seems that the radar antenna is also here, 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 and here. The smaller antennas are facing upwards and probably are designed to detect top attack munitions. Here we can also see the cables for the magnetic active protection system against the mains, and also a new rotating directional smoke launchers that are mounted on the east side of the hull. Additional launchers are also placed here and are facing upwards. As you can see, ERA is also protecting hull sides and the hull top over the crew compartment. The crew consists of the three men: driver, the gunner, and the commander with his distinctive cupola, but the gunner also have a certain design of the cupola, probably similar to the commander one. Besides 3 crewmen, the vehicle also carry 8 dismounts. The dismounts have a single periscope and also a single firing port in the rear ramp. The ramp, just like on the Boomerang and Kurganets, also have additional door that can be opened when the ramp is damaged, disabled, or simply you do not want to use the entire ramp. We can assume that the vehicle have also a capability for deep water fording and underwater driving, and the snorkel is placed somewhere here. The snorkel will be mounted to the commander or the gunner hatch. T14 is armed in the steel beast with the Boomerang BM unmanned turret module. However, additional modules with 57 mm autocannon are in development, and with different ATGMs instead of the Cornet, with the Ataka, Chrysanthema, and similar. The T14 Mbt is the first working Russian Mbt with the unmanned turret. Of course, there was also Object 195 previously to that, but it didn't enter any production and the program was scrapped, while the T14 is still continued. The crew is 3 men, the driver here, gunner in the middle, and the commander on the right of the hull. They sit in the isolated capsule. The capsule have a massive and heavy armor on the front, reinforced by the ERA on top here and on the bottom, and also is protected by the ERA on the top. The ERA models are protecting also the hull sides. There are 2 types of modules. The heavy ones, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heavy modules protecting the crew compartment, and also 5 light modules protecting the ammunition storage under the turret in the autoloader. The tank is armed with the 2A82 1M 125 mm smoothbore cannon. This gun is more powerful than the previous generation of 2A46 and 2A26 125 mm guns. Pardon me. The autoloader holds 32 rounds, with additional rounds stored in the armored box bolted to the rear of the turret. This ammunition here is not loaded by the autoloader. It needs to be manually reloaded to the autoloader from the outside by the crew. The crew can get into the turret through the top-mounted service hatch. Here is also a smaller hatch for the stoop case ejector, and there is also barely visible additional hatch here on the rear of the turret near its base. It's probably used to reload the autoloader without the need to use the service hatch on the top. We can see the wires for the magnetic protection system. On the turret we can see 2 main radar antennas, here and here, and 4 smaller ones, here, 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 and here. Besides this, there are laser detectors and simple visibility cameras mounted here, here, and here on the turret. Same on the opposite side. The gunner primary sight, the slit for the coaxial machine gun. The commander have a panoramic sight integrated with the remote weapon station. The coaxial machine gun is the 7.62 mm PKTM. The RWS can hold also 7.62 mm PKTM, but also probably 12.7 NSVT or cord machine guns. Here we have one of the antennas for the radios, I suppose. And here is the meteorological sensor. The gunner have also single periscope here. The commander have a cupola with several periscopes, and same goes for the driver. The driver also has a camera mounted here and the rear view camera here. We can assume that the T14 also have a rear mounted camera. The Afghan active protection system hard kill launchers are mounted on the turret base here and here, and they are directional. However, they can provide 360 degrees protection because the turret simply rotates. However, how quickly the system can rotate the turret so the launcher is in its so the incoming projectile is in the protection zone of the specific launcher, it's unknown. But we can assume that the system is also designed mostly for the forward facing enemy and for the typical assault warfare. The T15, T14 and also the T16 armored recovery vehicle uses a X-shaped diesel engine, A85. It is unknown if the Russians finally solved all the problems with the vehicle and its engine. We know that during the development program the engine had some problems. However, Russians also have problems with their classic V-type diesels. This year during the tank biathlon, the Iranian team using T-72B3 had an engine fire. The tank uses the V92 variant of the engine. Same happened last year to the Indian T90S. And there are also photos of the T90A with engine fire. The T90M tanks were also observed with black smoke coming from their engine exhaust. And the Russian sources informed that probably the engine design is flawed, especially its turbochargers. So it's questionable if the Russians solved the same problems that probably faced with the A85 engine. The engine compartment also have a protection with the slat armor, and slat armor probably can be mounted at the rear if additional fuel barrels are not mounted. The vehicle also have the snorkel for underwater driving. It's mounted to the commander hatch or somewhere in its vicinity. Not much known is about the tank due to the fact that it's a prototype. Its nature is deeply classified. However, the turret is lightly armored. The nearly entire focus on the armor protection is placed on the turret. The T14 and the T15 weighed 55 metric tons. And the protection is focused on the hull. The turrets have a light armor plus ERA on the top. And the turret itself is narrower than it is suggested by these metal plates or plastic plates bolted to it. These cover plates have a purpose of partly protecting the active protection system elements and also to reduce the infrared and radar cross sections and view of the turret and the vehicle itself. Not much more can be said about it, so let's move forward. The T16 is the armored recovery vehicle designed on the Armada platform. It is the same engine, suspension, transmission as the tank and the IFV in a purpose-designed hull. As we can see, it have a massive ERA modules mounted on over the crew compartment. The rest of the vehicle is protected by the slat armor. It's armed with the RWS, known from the Kurganets APC, and have a crew of 2 or 3. It's unknown, and have only soft kill elements of the active protection system. More capabilities is unknown, but we can expect it's a typical RV. And finally, the Koalitsia-SV. It's a self-propelled howitzer, 155 millimeters. The series production vehicle have only a single gun. One of the prototypes have 2 guns and 2 autoloaders. Of course, this is more practical and reliable design. The plans are to place the turret module on the Armada chassis. However, at this point, the chassis used is the derivative of the T90A mine battle tank, with its suspension, engine, transmission, etc. Just the crew is moved entirely to the hull. The turret is unmanned, and the crew is isolated from the ammunition. We can say the vehicle have a very similar design features to the US prototype XM 2001 Crusader. However, the vehicle here is definitely a good propaganda tool for the Russians. They claim that the vehicle can achieve firing range of 70 kilometers. Well, I highly doubt that with the gun that have a relatively short barrel. I guess it's not significantly longer than the gun on the 2S19 Msta-S self-propelled howitzer. While, for example, the Americans designed the M1299 self-propelled howitzer. It's in the development stage right now. That used the M907 ERKA extended range cannon artillery gun, which have a very long barrel. This it's used the L58 barrel, and this one is probably no longer than L52. So the Americans needed L58 barrel, completely new ammunition, new propellant charges to achieve the range of 70 kilometers, which was confirmed during the test. So I highly doubt that Koalitsia-SV is capable to achieve 70 kilometers of firing range. This is probably one of these cases when Russians pushed propaganda so far that the Americans actually believed that propaganda and designed the actually a better gun to counter the Koalitsia-SV. Is the Koalitsia a bad self-propelled howitzer? No, it's not. In many cases, it's definitely better than most NATO self-propelled howitzers. It's fully automated. Its crew is better protected. Maybe the chassis is not as good as, for example, the chassis of the Panzerhaubitze 2000 or the new US M1299 or the Polish Crab using the South Korean K9 chassis or the K9 itself. However, definitely this is a very dangerous weapon system, should not be ignored in any way possible. The additional armament of the Koalitsia-SV is the 12.7 cm NSVT or Court machine gun in the remote weapon station and the turret. Used for self-defense. There is no active protection system, however, vehicles have laser detectors and smoke dischargers. We will probably see for a longer time Koalitsia-SV on this chassis. However, in the next years, perhaps a new chassis on the Armada platform will be ready and the turrets will be moved to it. Or perhaps not, maybe due to budgetary reasons, Russians will stick to this chassis. and Koalitsia won't be a part of the Armada platform program. Okay, so that's all for now. I hope this was maybe a short but informative video for my English viewers. And we're gonna see each other in the next movie. Right now I hope I will record more movies in the English. So yeah, stay safe and have a nice day or have a nice night whenever you are watching this. See you later.